USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Learn more and get a quote at usaa.com/bundle. Restrictions apply.
I think you're on mute.
Workday starting to sound the same?
I think you're on mute.
Find something that sounds better for your career on LinkedIn. With LinkedIn Job Collections, you can browse curated collections by relevant industries and benefits, like flex PTO or hybrid workplaces, so you can find the right job for you. Get started at linkedin.com/jobs. Finding where you fit. LinkedIn knows how.
And now, a special edition of the Toddcast podcast.
Powered by Citywide Mortgage Services, providing complete financing and mortgage services for residential and small commercial businesses. Visit them at citywidemortgage.ca.
Now, here's your host, Todd Hancock.
This week, we're flipping through the archives, basically, and taking you back over the years, highlighting some of the more memorable moments. 9 guests this week. Normally, of course, we have 3 week to week, podcast to podcast. In sports, you will hear from a curling champ who knows all about pressure, a straight-up soccer legend whose name echoes through Canadian stadiums, and a retired wrestling icon, the excellence of execution. If that helps you guess who it is, maybe it gives it away. In entertainment, a well-known TV and film actor who's also a longtime friend of the podcast, a wild man musician who starred in a Canadian movie that has a cult-like following, and a best-selling author and relationship therapist. You will hear from this week's musical guests in just a minute. A singer who stepped into the shoes of a grunge legend, a singer and well-known actor, part punk, part preacher, and an alt-pop singer who's been turning heads recently. My name is Todd Hancock. Happy you found us, or maybe you're back for another round, whichever it is. Beauty. It's great to have you there. It's all about our sponsors, of course. They're the reason that I can amuse myself and talk to people I find interesting and get them to share their story. Like our title sponsor, Citywide Mortgage Services. They have connections with over 30 lenders, have multilingual support as well, if needed. My good buddy, my friend Dara, is one of the owners. He helped me refinance my mortgage back in January. It was super simple. I can't stress this enough. Couple phone calls, couple emails. If you're looking for a well-known, reputable mortgage broker, I would definitely recommend Citywide Mortgage Services. I know you know their name. They're accepted as an industry leader. Super convenient. They'll walk you through whatever works for you. Use my network to better yours. That's what it's all about, right? So talk to Dara. He will walk you through the process, super simple, through citywidemortgage.ca. Citywidemortgage.ca is their website. Okay, so coming up in just a few minutes, listen to this, One Bad Son singer Shane Connery Volk, who's also an artist for Mad Cave Studios. He talks about his favorite comic book movies. Get ready to geek out with him in just a little bit. That is powered by our great friends, Tedco RV Supplies in Langley. RV service, repairs, yes, they are ICBC accredited, and they are 9-year sponsor. They haven't taken a break in that time. 9-year sponsor. Absolutely key to what we do. Unwavering support like this isn't something that I take for granted. They are the champions of the underdog here in Vancouver. Nothing, of course, but love for Tamara and her team. You can find them kicking around time to time online as well on Facebook and Twitter. Where else? At Tedco RV Supplies. First, let's get to some musical guests over the years. Remember how big Alice in Chains were in the early 90s, right? Playing Lollapalooza, the buzz around the band, the build-up, how dark they were, just heavy, leading the charge of the grunge movement, walking beside Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, Nirvana. That's the Mount Rushmore of grunge, right? Pretty cool to get their singer William Duvall on as a guest years back now, maybe 5, 6, maybe 7 years ago. And in an effort to kind of keep this concise, because I know I could easily go off the rails with this one, pretty quick to go deep on a band like Alice in Chains. Well, listen to what William said about talking about his first concert.
My first concert, my mother would take me to things at the Carter Barron Amphitheater in D.C., things like The Temptations and Melba Moore on a double bill, like some of that. Yeah. Real great, R&B gigs. And, she would also take me to see, Shakespeare plays and stuff like that. But I think the first concerts I remember where it was all about stuff I wanted to see were things like Earth, Wind and Fire, Funkadelic, Sam and Graham Central Station. That was a big one. And then, later, a little bit later, around the time of, Van Halen coming out with Fair Warning, that album Fair Warning, and AC/DC coming out with Back in Black, and For Those About to Rock. Around then, I started going to see those bands. Like, I saw Van Halen on the Fair Warning tour. I saw AC/DC on the For Those About to Rock tour.
Love that. He goes, she would take me to Shakespeare concerts, stuff like that. I don't know. I've always loved hearing about music in people's lives. Like, what are you listening to? Which bands have you been playing nonstop for over a decade? Because we all have those bands. So back to another clip of Williams' visit. I'd brought up how cool it was that Alice in Chains opened up dates for the Guns N' Roses reunion tour.
Oh, gosh, what an honor. Yeah, I mean, first of all, we're just happy as fans of that band that this is working out.
Right.
That they were able to do this, and then we're happy for our friends, Slash and Duff, who we've sort of shared a friendship with for quite a while now, and then to be asked to be a part of it, that's just icing on the cake, really. I mean, we were totally honored to play those first two shows at the T-Mobile Arena in Vegas back in April, prior to their even sort of really launching this tour they're on now.
That's right.
That was amazing. That was total history in the making there. And then we did the first 5 stadium shows with them, and then we just did Seattle with them last week. So yeah, totally amazing. And I mean, when rock music in 2016 can do that kind of business, when an American rock band, American hard rock band can do that kind of business to where it transcends rock music, it transcends music almost. It becomes this like sporting event type, level thing.
Yeah.
That's incredible. That's really incredible.
So true. It transcends music almost. It becomes this like sporting event type level thing. Totally. You know exactly what he means, hey? Like when it gets that big, which it is, it truly is something else. So from Seattle rock elite to a Canadian musician, actor, and TV producer, just a badass punk, Hugh Dillon, singer of Headstones. You've seen him on so many great roles in his acting career like Durham County, Flashpoint, Kingstown, Yellowstone, chops. I mean, this kid has chops. Do yourself a favor. That's favor with a U to our friends down south. Watch Hardcore Logo. Listen to Hugh talk about that movie and its importance to his acting career.
It was everything. I had, it taught me everything. I was, Callum Rennie is, I think the greatest actor in this country. And all those years ago, and I'll tell you why, because he's just got great instincts. But when somebody is not threatened and can teach you, that is the sign of greatness in my mind. And I wouldn't realize it till years later. Mm-hmm. But that guy and Bruce McDonald, brought me into this world with actors and technicians and just really creative, generous minds. It was such a great way in because the business isn't always like that. It can be, about the money, and it can be about egos and so many things that could turn you off and you just wouldn't pursue it. Because obviously I pursued, when I was younger, I had a dramatic arts teacher at KC where I went to school with the guys in the hip who just said, you should get into acting. And I just couldn't, I loved rock and roll. Music was the only thing for me at the time. There was just too many rules and too many opinions that other people had with acting that I just thought, this is just, a clusterfuck of horse shit. And I can't cope, and it just brings out the worst in me because it's people kind of pushing their agendas. And, I wanted to write my own songs and do my own thing. And Hardcore Logo showed me that this world of independent film and acting could be great.
I love that he highlights that. Just really creative, generous minds. It was such a great way in because the business isn't always like that. So true. So to the music side of Hugh, Headstones, one of Canada's best rock bands ever. This is undisputed. If you've seen them play live, we wouldn't even be having this discussion. Headstones is another band that I could go on and on about. Find the full talk with Hugh. We had a really good laugh about a few things. In fact, good dude. We've talked a handful of times over the years, a couple times up in Prince George, PG, early 2000s. Funny story of me having to grab Hugh. He was late to a radio interview. So it was like, hey, Todd, can you go grab the station vehicle and get Hugh from the Sandman? So let's just say greeting him, and it wasn't too nice. I think it was a shoe. It might have been a lamp. Something came at me. The party days, let's say. And we laughed about those times and talked about the proud moments since Hugh started his band, Headstones.
Well, it's all about, cleaning up my act and my wife and my family. That's really what it is. That's the most important thing. Nothing would matter if I didn't have that, and that's what I got. That was the struggle, is getting past hardcore heroin addiction and hardcore alcoholism and many years of rehab and trying to fucking clean up and all of it. That allowed me to get here, and that is what allowed me to take this band to where it needed to go for this record. So, really it's all about my wife. That would be the thing I'm most proud of. And then after that is this album, Little Army. And, just seeing the expressions on Trent and Tim and Steve, just seeing how much this album means to them and their families. We played these outdoor festivals this summer in Ontario, and they were just outrageous. The crowds go off, and these guys have their families show up at shows, and everybody's just proud and excited, and we're firing on every cylinder live. That it just is like, wow, this is what this is what we always wanted, it to be this kind of a perfect machine, and now it is.
I think most people can relate to that. Rock star or not, nothing would matter if I didn't have that. And from one of Canada's best rock bands and their singer to a Persian Asian pop singer-songwriter I was introduced to by a friend, super compelling story of Shab. Her visit is one that you need to find and dig into. Her story is just so beautiful in its foundation. She only put out her debut album back in 2021. Yes, the COVID years. Things did come out of that. A lot of creativity, don't you find? Like, since those days, dark days, lonely days, and for good to come out of that in our lives, I mean, it's beautiful when you really think about it. You'll love this part of the conversation. Shab talks about working with a charity called Choose Love.
Choose Love helps refugees to because I know how hard it is to come to a new country as a refugee, and this album it's really dedicated to, it's my story, it's my one suitcase. It's called One Suitcase, and I have a song called One Suitcase. And if you look up Dallas, Austin, and Nos Tokyo, they helped me write this song, and it's such a beautiful song, and it makes me tear up. I mean, if this song doesn't win a Grammy, I don't know which song will, because it's one of those deep. I mean, I cannot wait for you to hear it. And so the reason we chose Choose Love is because I wanted to, and part of my all of my proceeds, 100% of my proceeds, and I know I have writers, producers, they'll get their share, whatever, this album will make, but whatever my part is, it goes straight, all of it. I talked to my husband, I started crying when he said, is that something that you want? Is that okay? I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? We're both very giving people, and we help a lot of people. We also have a charity here that's local. It's called Hope Supply for homeless mothers and kids. It helps with essential needs and things like that. And so the Choose Love is for refugees and my other passion that I would like to help, because when you first come here, you're disbobbled and dispositioned, and you left everything behind. And it's like literally in a suitcase. You're living off a suitcase. And it could be somebody moving to another city or country. It doesn't have to be different country or refugees. I mean, anybody can like relate to this song. But I just love to help people that are, that are struggling in that way, and just to be the ray of light and hope for them. And to know that you're not alone. There's people, we are never alone. We have so many people, you have so many prayers behind you. You have so many people that love you. You might not see them, but they're there. You know, something that sometimes goes in life wrong, and then it just works it out because there's people that love you, that pray for you, and they want you to do good in life because they're rooting for you. And not just in this world, not just in our visible world, but in the visible realm. It's just like electricity. We don't see how it works. Certain things we don't see it, but it's there. And that's just the way I think of those people. I just want to be a ray of light and hope. And hey, there's people like me that are willing to help. And, this album was made with love, tears, and sweat, and a lot of work. And so, but I'm just really honored to be able to do this for them.
Yeah, and that's beautiful that you're giving all of your, profits to that too. And like it goes back to what you said earlier, like do you need all the money in the world? The answer is no, you don't.
We don't. That's great. We don't, and it's just nice to be able to be in that position, to be able to help other people. And I just want to take everyone with me in like this big spaceship, and I'm like, let's all go. Not leaving one man behind.
That's quite the quote. Hey, I know how hard it is to come from a new country as a refugee. That side of Shab, the human side, the non-performer side, family side, life in Iran as a little kid, moving to Germany at a young age. Shab opens up a fair amount and talks about that, her personal life in the full interview. It really is an uplifting conversation, podcast, interview, whatever you want to call it. Shab put out her second album, a double album, called One Suitcase, 21 songs in total, ambitious to say the very least. But after talking to her, it doesn't surprise me at all. Listen to what Shab says is likely her career highlight.
Yes, definitely. I would say my tours in the UK. I felt like a real artist. The first time I went on a tour, I remember I was really scared. I was prepared, but I wasn't as prepared as I thought I would have been. And it was with Anastasia. She canceled a lot of tours. I mean, that could have been a really amazing tour for me. But because she canceled a lot of Germany, and Germany, I grew up in Germany, and I had my speech in German, and I couldn't wait to go back and tell the German people how much I appreciate them, how much I love them. It's my beloved Germany, because I was the first country that accepted me as a refugee. I'm so grateful, just going back and just giving them love and being thankful, and my beloved US, of course. But my last tour that I did with JLS, I've done 4 tours so far, and 2 of them were like arena tours, my first arena tour, and I did 18 shows, and I was up there for a good 40 minutes, and it just was this amazing energy, and it's incredible to be able to be prepared, that God gives you that energy to go and sing your music and finally share it with the world is the greatest gift and blessing in the world, to be able to do what you love, because your spirit is alive and you're sharing all these things with the people that, your fans that you love, and, you all exchanging energy. And it's such a beautiful thing. That's was highlight of it. I was prepared. I was on a Stairmaster every day for 2 hours and doing. And I was just like, you know what, I want to go be prepared. I want my voice to be prepared. I want myself to be prepared. And I was prepared. And I was really proud of the shows that I did. And I was ready.
The Toddcast podcast is powered by Milano Coffee, bringing you the finest espresso and coffee concepts in the world. Online at milanocoffee.ca.
Yourself to stop pretending, 'cause you don't deserve it. When no one said you were not good enough. I wish you could see what we see when we look at you. Keep on moving along slow and steady, 'cause 'cause you know you're worth it. Let the pieces fall where they belong. Maybe you see what we see when we look at you. But your hope hasn't been stolen, it's still flowing, waiting for you to keep going. Full broke, don't give up. No one said you were not good enough. Good enough, good enough. No one said you were not good enough. Good enough, good enough, good enough, good enough. You had the perfect bridge to walk across, and you know you burned it. Can't blame anybody but yourself. You lit the match and you paid for the gasoline. Oh yeah. And while sorting through the million dollars, it wasn't worth it. 'Cause the past place you love to dwell. You'll never see what we see when we look at you. That your hope hasn't been stolen, it's still flowing, waiting for you to keep going. Full broke, don't give up. No one said you were not good enough. No one said you were not good enough. No one said you were not good enough. Tell yourself to stop pretending, 'cause you don't deserve it. When no one said you were not good enough. I wish you could see what we see when we look at you.
And now, listen to this on the Toddcast podcast.
You've heard One Bad Son on any good rock radio station since the early 2000s. They formed in 2004 from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. They've had a handful of top 10 hits in Canada. Their song Raging Bull went to number 1. They have 6 albums. They haven't released anything since 2017, so we are due. Now, I've known the boys for a while now, and when their singer Shane Connery-Volk was a guest, we talked about their time in the industry and playing big shows with Def Leppard and Judas Priest. They played the Grey Cup. He talked about seeing AC/DC on their Ballbreaker tour. Imagine having the superpower of flight. Growing up to the music of the Stones and the Beatles. He talked about growing up in the 90s, how Nirvana blowing up, comic books blowing up. That was the last cosmic shift in both of those worlds. His words. We got into the shows that he was binge watching at the time. Our mutual love of Star Wars came up. He talked about seeing Top Gun Maverick in theater. And knowing that Shane is a comic book artist as well with Mad Cave Studios, we got him talking about comic book movies and which are his favorites. Listen to this.
You know, I love those. I mean, yeah, Logan was awesome. The game changer movie for me ever was Batman 1989, like Michael Keaton. That was like in 89, it was like Batman came out, Ninja Turtles came out, and Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade came out, and it was like my world was just a whole different thing. But for modern movies, like the Batman was really good.
I thought it was good too.
I really liked it. You know,
friends that were bagging on it pretty hard. It's like, what are you watching the same movie that I watched? Like
we're in the era, man. We're in the era. Well, but we're in the era of like absolute fanboy culture, where it's like no matter what happens, somebody has to shit on it. They just have to. And I mean, it's Batman now. You've seen a million movies, a million different interpretations, and like. I think there's something cool about all of them, to be honest. Like, I love the Christian Bale, like the Christopher Nolan series was awesome.
Yeah.
I thought Ben Affleck was great, though I didn't love those movies. Like, I liked parts of them, but I'm like also like, that was your interpretation of that character. And in our lifetime, man, we're going to see a million Batman movies. You're going to see a million Spider-Man movies. There's going to be, you know, there's some of the Marvel movies I love, like the Thor movies. Have been like Ragnarok was one of my favorites, and then Love and Thunder looks awesome. So
totally, I love the humor they inject in that.
Yeah, because they finally got it. It's like not every character can be dark, and Thor's a bit of a ridiculous character. So it's like just be out there with it. Like and I think that's why Marvel's had such a huge impact is they embraced the fact that like one movie can be more dark and serious, one movie can be a comedy, and they can all live in one universe, and that's why they're so popular, you know, like brilliant on their part. You know, they got staying power.
Listen to This on the Toddcast podcast is brought to you by Tedco RV Supplies in Langley, an ICBC approved repair shop. Visit them on Facebook and Twitter at Tedco RV Supplies. And now, highlighting our next Blue Light Sessions, powered in part by Canadian Club Whiskey. Meet your new cold one. We serve Canadian Club and Ginger ready-to-drink cocktails at all of our live shows. Visit CanadianClub.com today.
Skies till you open up your eyes. The words you speak are so unkind. Feel the cold air in your mind. Hate but not to hurt. I don't know what's worse. Sink your teeth into my skin. Drain the venom from within. Your skin like a snake, I caught you slithering. At night you're awake, yeah, you lay quivering. He made a mistake, and that's your greatest claim. Pick out your prey, hope for a slow decay.
It's one of those songs, guaranteed it's going to be stuck in your mind for the rest of the day. New Kara Bateman is called Cotton Skies. I know she played that at our last Blue Light sessions together. I hope she breaks it out again. She played a show with us last summer, a brilliant night, and I'm not just throwing around that word, brilliant. Brilliant. Kara is leading the charge here in Vancouver in the music scene. Just released her new album. It's called Daddy Issues. It is great. There's a sweet fuck you to Joe Rogan. Some beautiful stuff on the album. There's some aggressive stuff. Kara's next show with us is next month on Friday, June 20th. Only 20 bones right now through eventbrite.ca. We bump it up to $25 at the door. Doors are at 7 o'clock. Show starts at 8-ish. Stevie Wise is going to be opening up that night, by the way. I played you something new from our good friend, Dominique Fricot, another beauty from him. It's called Good Enough. He's been over in Germany, fully immersed in their scene for, I don't know, maybe 10 years, maybe more than that. Super cool of him to keep us posted. The proverbial us, the Toddcast podcast. Dom is a beauty. He's a big guy as well. Like, I'm 6'2". He makes me feel short. He's like 6'6", 6'8", something like that. I don't know. Height aside, an absolute crusher live. He did a podcast show early in the life of this podcast back in like 16 or 17, something like that. Back when we used to call our shows the Cheap Thrills. There were no tickets sold. There was only guest list to get into these shows. Just super fun. And Dom, midpoint of song 1, has the crowd stomping, clapping along like instantly, and it carried on through the whole performance. Just another super talented musician that you should try to give some time to. All right, so later on in the podcast, in Stop Me If You've Heard This Before, filmmaker and screenwriter Maddie Granger talks about working as a videographer on the first X-Men movie. Very cool story for all that love that world, creating content and movies and everything that's kind of involved in making superhero movies. As always, that's powered by our good friends, the Home Dwell Group. My best bud, in fact, Kyle, is a partner. He's been in the game forever in one facet or another. He's helped design so many cool buildings in Vancouver. You know the one right at Rogers Arena, that cool looking one, like right beside it? For sure you do. If you're buying a home, Kyle helped design that, by the way. If you're buying a home, you're selling your house, contact Kyle. He will dial you up through homedwell.ca, homedwell.ca. First, let's get you back to more guest highlights from sporting guests in our Over the Years podcast. Canadian Olympic curler Emma Miskew is a giant in her sport, to say the least. Multiple world, multiple Canadian champ. She is on Team Homan, one of Canada's best teams all around, all time. She represented Canada at the 18 Winter Olympics, absolutely clobbered early in her career, damn near untouchable. Big wins, of course, crushing losses at that level. I guess you would expect that as a champ, right? The good, the bad, some incredible memories.
Well, we've had some hard losses, but we've always been able to bounce back and be better from all those hard losses. And I think those are the ones that stand out the most, is going through those hard times and on the ice where we lose a game we shouldn't lose, or we don't perform at the level we want to perform at, and then being able to bounce back and then actually win that event that we failed at the first time. And I think that's just sport in general, is you're going to fail and you're going to succeed. No one succeeds all the time continuously, or there wouldn't be a sport. So it's just a matter of how we learn from those losses, those hard losses. And we always chose to learn from them and battle through them together, instead of deciding that the other person was the problem and moving on in a different direction. I think that's what makes us so unique.
No, I was watching the videos, and I don't know if you're just saying it to say it, but you guys actually hang out. Like, it's not just you go to the rink and you do your thing, but you're actual friends outside of the sport.
Oh yeah, and curling is such a small team sport too. So most teams, there's only 4 people. You spend a lot of time together. So if you don't like the people you're playing with, it's a long season. We're playing from mid-August until May. So that's, I think, why there's a lot of movement on teams, because it's a lot of time that you spend with your teammates. And if you're not enjoying that time, it's hard to feel like it's worth it to be away that much and not being enjoying that time. Whereas I haven't really had that experience. And we've really enjoyed all that time, and I like being on the road with my team, and we have so much fun. So it's, I'm very lucky.
That's what winners do. We've always been able to bounce back and be better from those hard losses. Like, to try to even comprehend getting to the level of competing at Olympic level is mind-boggling. Like, didn't Olympic gold medalist speedwalker Evan Dunphy almost beat or came real close to beating the Sedin twins? Like, Canucks royalty walking a race here in Vancouver. The twins were running it. He almost beat them. Speed walking Olympic on par with professional athletes. It is insane, the level of these athletes. Emma talked a bit about that in the full interview, the things that she does to keep game ready, a truly inspiring talk. We even got her to talk a bit about her business called Shimmer and Oak.
Yeah, I started that a couple of summers ago during COVID. I was trying to come up with a baby gift for one of my best friends. They were having a second boy, so they didn't really need anything. They had everything. So I was trying to come up with something unique that I could gift for them that wouldn't just be something that would be worn once and thrown out or given away. And so I put on their names on some wood and painted it on and just tried to make something look really pretty that they could hang on the wall. Just some artwork.
Something unique and sure.
And after I made it, I was like, wow, that's really nice. I feel like people might want to buy this and maybe I could sell it. So just I had all this time. Curling was basically not starting. I had way more time than I normally would have with everything being shut down and no social life. Because we're all locked into our homes. So it's like, I'll just start a little company. So I make custom wood art, and it's with the same technique, but totally different, custom etched glasses. And on the glass where it doesn't actually wash off, which is what makes it so unique compared to everything else on the market. Is normally something customizable that's just one. It's with vinyl. And then if you put a little too warm of water in the sink or it goes in the dishwasher, it's just peeling right off. So this is actually permanent. So a lot of people really like it.
What's the website?
Shimmerandoak.com.
It really could be that simple, right? She goes, during COVID, I was trying to come up with a baby gift for one of my best friends, a cool, fun side hustle with one of Canada's curling elites. And a quick shuffle to 2003 National Soccer Hall of Fame inductee, Bob Lenarduzzi, 11 seasons in the North American Soccer League, over 300 games, straight up a soccer legend, Olympian, World Cup, international matches, big matches, hundreds of matches as a player, a national head coach, GM, president. So which role had the most pressure?
The one thing that you can do as a player is you can do something about it on the pitch. As as a coach and as an administrator, as the president, you can only watch. So you do feel somewhat less in control. Although as a coach, you're obviously an integral part of the game plan that you're sending the team out to execute. But the one thing that I do know, and this was something that was mentioned to me when I was a player by a former teammate of mine, Alan Hinton, who had a great year here in Vancouver in 1978. I think established the record in the North American Soccer League for 30 assists in a season. But I remember him saying to me, what you should do is you should enjoy your playing days, because it will come to an end, and whatever you do beyond that probably won't provide the same level of satisfaction.
So true. Bob goes, the one thing you can do as a player, you can do something about it on the pitch. That's got to be frustrating as a coach, being a former player, and then suddenly you can't do anything on the pitch. Now, Bob's super humble. Listen to him talking about being a member of the National Soccer Hall of Fame.
I do recall getting the call and feeling very honored and proud that to be a part of a Hall of Fame that has a number of other players, administrators, coaches that are being recognized.
I do recall getting the call, feeling very honored, very proud. It's so good to hear people talking about their proud moments, hey? Like you can hear it in their voices and how they tell that story. So I'll take you from a Canadian soccer legend to the excellence of execution. What was his line again? I'm the best there is, the best there was, best there ever will be. Retired wrestling legend. And I seem to be tossing around that. Let me hold up here for a sec. I seem to be tossing around that word a fair amount in this podcast. But what else would you call Bret the Hitman Hart? Another huge force, a 5-time WWE champ, the first King of the Ring winner, 32 championship titles in 5 decades from the 70s to the 10s, and lots of injuries.
Well, the worst I was hurt was probably when Goldberg kicked me in the head and ended my career with a concussion injury that was a huge setback for me and probably led to my having a stroke about 2 years later. But yeah, it was an accident, and I don't have any hard feelings towards Bill, but I wish he'd been a little more careful with his force.
That's a crazy quote. It was a huge setback for me and probably led to me having a stroke. Like, yikes. Through it all, Bret remains upbeat, positive, short and sweet. Again, here's something you could really go into a rabbit hole with, so we won't do that. But listen to Bret talking about what he thinks are his career highlights.
But as far as the highlight of my career, probably will always be just winning the world title the very first time. I don't think, when I was a little kid, if someone had told me when I was about 6 that someday you're going to be the world champion of wrestling and you'd be traveling around and doing all this stuff, I would never have believed it. But at the same time, I would have loved hearing. That would have been something I would have looked forward to doing. And I'm really happy with, contrary to what anyone might think or we maybe get from my book or different things, but I really take a lot of pride in my career and the great moments I had, and I'm happy to share those with any fans all the time. When I go to Vancouver, I do sense there's a lot of layers of wrestling history there that I can connect with, and I hope that fans that from different generations, I'm always astounded when I meet young kids that are about 4 or 5 years old that are grilling me about what my match with Shawn Michaels was all about. And, I'm always amazed. I go, how do you even watch wrestling?
How do you know that?
And the kids say they watch on network, and there must be a lot of dads. I hear a lot of dads tell me that they sit down with their kids and they watch my matches and teach them how wrestling works.
That's pretty cool,
based on watching. Yeah, and I take all that as a huge thumbs up, and I'm really proud to be that kind of a role model for wrestlers.
Red Truck Beer, delivered fresh, the official beer of the Toddcast podcast.
Sleepless nights, sleepless nights, 'cause you love me right. Sleepless nights, just a big blue sky in the desert here. Got the radio up so you can feel the beat. Now I'm singing loud 'cause I'm in the mood for greasy spoons and let that drive through. I wanna feel you close, I wanna hold you tight. I wanna be with you tonight. I wanna love you now, I wanna love you right, so you can feel so safe tonight. Sleepless nights, sleepless nights, 'cause you love me right. Sleepless nights, burning down a no-back road that we all know from long
And now, stop me if you've heard this before on the Toddcast podcast.
Do you have things that you've acquired over the years that blows people's minds? Like for me, once I'm out partying with Nickelback singer Chad Kroeger, and he gives me his leather jacket at the end of the night. He's like, dude, you always wear hoodies. Here, have a nice jacket. And I was like, no, I don't want it. And he's like, dude, I'm going to leave it here. And anyway, I picked it up. I still have that. I have drumsticks that belong to late Pantera drummer Vinnie Paul. I have a vinyl Rage Against the Machine single that's signed by Tim Comerford and Chris Cornell when they were in Vancouver to play an Audioslave show. It seems that most people have something like that. And a friend of mine, a guy named Matt Granger, he's a filmmaker, screenwriter. He has so much of that stuff. Like when we jumped a Zoom to record something, in the background is a full-sized stormtrooper just in his living room. Matty started his film career back in 1999 as a videographer on the original X-Men movie, and more on that in just a minute. Together with his brother Mikey, they're known as the Granger Bros, and their work speaks for itself. Monsters in the game. Check out thegrangerbros.com. So many cool things on that website. They did a horror short called Chained, produced, co-wrote it, which became an official selection of Screamfest LA in 2011. Got to the 2012 Rincon International Film Festival Awards of Excellence as well, and covered a lot of ground beyond that with Matty. Talked about winning MTV's contest to spoof a Quentin Tarantino film. He talked about his work with Gwar and their graphic novel. DC Comics and the Watchmen movie came up. Reading G.I. Joe as a kid. Matty worked on iRobot with Will Smith, so of course, you know I'm bringing up the Chris Rock slap. And stop me if you've heard this before. Remember I told you that Matt was a videographer for the X-Men? Yeah, that.
It's funny. It's like I've known Kevin Feige from Marvel for 20 some odd years. We were on the first X-Men together, and he was like an associate producer. So he was sort of like kind of like starting in the business and stuff like that. And so we used to sit around and talk nerd shit all the time. It was like all we did is talk nerd shit. And then he went off and turned into Kevin Marvel. Like it's just insane what he ended up doing. So.
It is insane. And like the X-Men for me, like I don't know about you, but the X-Men for me was like the one that really truly pulled me in.
Oh yeah.
It was the franchise. DC, it was. Anything, like it was like the one, right? And like here you're like working with them in like the what was it, like the late 90s, early 2000s?
We did the first one in we did the first one in 99, and then we did it was, you know, nobody bet on us. Nobody was in. I don't think they knew what it was. I remember a studio executive calling it a little Power Rangers movie. They didn't know. No. I don't think they knew what it was, and it was this little group of guys making this movie, and it was fire in a bottle, and we didn't know. Like it was tough. It was a very difficult shoot, and I got brought in to be videographer, so I videotaped everything, and I think I shot about 180 hours of footage on that movie.
Stop Me If You've Heard This Before on the Toddcast podcast is powered by the Home Dwell Group. Buying a house? Selling your home? Contact Kyle at homedwell.ca today.
You say this and I say that. You get pissed and I get mad. We get sad, I get stiff and you get glad. I break down, forgive you fast. You forgive me too. Who am I to take from you? I give nothing, you give everything to me. I'm just lost inside my head. You just want us to be happy. I can't lie, I'm so unhappy. I can't lie, I'm so happy. Will I always be this way? Will I always be this great? One day
Here's a new song for Matt Storm. You say this, I say that. You've heard him on this podcast for years. We've literally, since we heard about him, supported Matt. He's kind of played in a podcast show as well. If you were lucky enough to catch Ivan Hartle's show with us a few years back at the Blue Light Studio, Matt was part of what we did in that duo that they played. Matt also played one or two of his songs as well, but for the most part, it was all about backing up Ivan. I've told Matt that, should probably bang off a show with us. So we'll see where and how that goes. Another band who we've talked to about doing a Blue Light Sessions, you heard something new for a band called Quickness. I believe that would be their first spin anywhere on the planet as well, by the way. Jacob's been just outstanding, keeping us up to date with what's going on in his world. Quickness song is called Sleepless Nights, by the way, Sleepless Nights. He apologized in an email the other day about all the emails he sends me, and I was like, dude, apologize. What are you talking about? I wish all Vancouver bands did the same thing, right? So you'll likely see a session with Quickness, but probably not until the fall. Okay, so our final guests of episode 365, this week's entertainment guests, powered for the last time. Their 9-month sponsorship with us draws to a conclusion that draws to an end at the end of the month. Thrive Management. Huge thanks to Sasha for jumping on, supporting the little podcast that could. They are an event staffing agency here in Canada. We're talking about models, brand ambassadors, operations, sales, TV, film, trade shows, whatever you need help, where your next event needs to go to that next level. Well, they work in major cities across the country. Find out how Sasha and her team can kick it up a notch through thrivemanagement.ca. thrivemanagement.ca. So I've known actor Antonio Cupo for the better part of 2 decades, maybe more, going back to his time fronting a rock band here in Vancouver called Hybrid Cartel. The early 2000s, they were making some headway. They won Seafox's Seeds program. Basically, it was a battle of the bands. And as someone who worked at that station at the time, deeply intertwined in the day-to-day operations, there were a lot of good rock bands at the time in Vancouver. Always is, always has been, always will be. I hope I don't get sued by Bret. But little did I know, on the side, Antonio was acting. In fact, to the point that his acting money was bankrolling his rock band. So something had to change. Right? You can't keep doing that. Your side hustle has to hustle. It's on to the next thing otherwise. You'll know Antonio from his roles in Hallmark Channel movies. That's his bread and butter. Or maybe it's from Bomb Girls, Supernatural, Blood and Treasure. No, I know what it is. It's starring in Peacemaker with John Cena.
Peacemaker was pretty awesome. Yeah. I got to say that. It was, it's like, and it was recent, so I remember that being a really great experience. And if anyone hasn't seen it, they should definitely check it out. I think it's one of those shows that is it's kind of that tongue-in-cheek humor that makes for really good TV if you get it. I've had people even just say, "Look, I don't get it," and it's because
guaranteed there's people that don't get it.
Yeah, they're like, they don't get that kind of humor where it's like it's meant to be like a farcical or play on itself or funny, Right. And John Cena is funny, and James Gunn is funny, and they think that shit is funny, so they make it.
He goes, yeah, it's kind of tongue-in-cheek humor that makes for really good TV if you get it. Totally, right? 100%. If you don't get it, those who don't get it, they'll never ever get it. Quickly back to Antonio's time fronting Hybrid Cartel, because I don't think we gave that enough time. People have asked, how do you get on such and such a guest, or how do you get that person on the podcast? Well, I've known Antonio for decades.
Yeah. It's really wild. Actually, I was thinking about that the other day because someone had mentioned something about singing, and they were just like, it's like, what? Like you? And they were like, yeah, Cupo used to play in a band. And they were like, what? And because suddenly, people see you as something because that's what you're doing. It's like, right. If you're doing construction, they see you as a construction worker. It's like, well, he plays piano. It's like, oh, really? Sure. Like, I didn't know.
He works at Pizza Hut. He's a pizza guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like and you could be so many things in life, and you could, I guess it represents a kind of a period in my life because I did, in a way, turn my back, so to speak, on it and just kind of move in another direction. I was always, at the same time I was playing music, I was kind of always acting. And what had happened was I was taking all of my acting money and spending it on music. And I had this sort of light bulb go off in my head, because, you know, music is like, but when you're like, you're buying guitars, you're buying amps, you're buying studio time, you're buying everything.
Right.
You know, it's like, and for what, you know, like, yeah, you get a few spins on the radio here and there, but that's not going to pay your bills. So it's really a labor of love. And when you approach it like that and you understand it as that, I think you can start enjoying it in a different way. But if you're trying to make money from it because that's all you want to do, you want to play rock and roll, you know, that's kind of like and maybe it sounds a little bit like a kind of romanticized notion of wanting to play rock and roll and being very poor is actually the real case, because that's usually how it plays out.
Right. It's a grind the whole time. Like the grind never stops if you're in a band like that, right?
It never stops.
Never.
It never stops. And I remember we were like, even before Hybrid Cartel, you know, we were like making mixtapes, like our songs, like putting it together on cassette tapes with a band called Starfly. And we would go in the lineups. We would go in the lineups at like the Roxy or whatever when bands are playing. We just like hand out tapes.
Yeah.
And people would take these tapes and put them in their cars. And 3 years later, be like, oh my God, I still have that, you know, that mix, that tape that you guys made. I have it in my Chevette. You know what I mean? It's just like everyone had a Chevette back then, right? It's just like or a Cavalier with like a cassette player.
That quote's going to ring so true to so many musicians that are listening. I was taking all of my acting money, spending it on music, right? Like I said to you, taking from your acting to pay for the rocking, it's not good math. The formula doesn't add up. So we'll take you from an actor friend of ours to another Canadian actor, this time who's also a musician, a writer, Paul Spence, who you'll best know as Dean Murdoch in Fubar, fronts the deadly band Night Seeker as well. It's wild when you think about how ingrained Fubar is in Canadian pop culture. It is part of the very fabric of my being, certainly. And of course, Paul's an absolute beauty who did the interview as Diener, talking about whether he felt like Fubar would become a cult classic like it is.
Well, you know, like when you're a really fucking deadly guy, you just kind of know it. Like I've never had to try to get laid in my life. I basically just open my door and it kind of happens. You know, some people just have it. So, you know, it's like people look up to those who just kind of are like natural party leaders. So I'm really frankly not surprised in any way.
And then there's a Fubar 2. Is there a plans for Fubar 3?
Well, the thing is I can't count that high. So, you know, that's where we're at number 2. I only got half my grade 12. I only got my grade 6.
Made it halfway there.
Yeah, we're almost there. No, I don't know. Like, it just depends. Like, fucking the right opportunity might come along, and you never know. Like, we ain't got no plans to do it right now. But, like, right now, we're just, like, I'm rocking the tunes with Night Seeker, and that's pretty deadly.
When you're a really fucking deadly guy, you just kind of know it. What a beauty. And how about some of Dean's favorite movies all time?
I like Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah.
And I like that one where the guy, he makes people's heads explode. The fuck was that? Cronenberg directed that one, I think. Yeah, I like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I like that guy, Blondie! I like that fucking Mexican dude. He was pretty rad.
I wonder how tough it is for him to stay in character doing these types of interviews. I like the one where the guy, he makes people's heads explode. From an absolute beauty to a sex and relationship therapist we had on a couple years ago, Dr. Emily Jamea. She recently put out a book back in November. It's called The Anatomy of Desire, 5 Secrets to Create Connection and Cultivate Passion. I do remember Emily being super engaged in our conversation. She has a lifetime, of course, of experience, speaks nationally, internationally. She's landed herself on the cover of Oprah magazine. More on that in a sec. As a featured expert on CNN, USA Today, NBC, Dr. Jamea hosts a popular podcast called Love and Libido, which dovetails nicely into her thoughts on experimenting in the bedroom.
So I talk a lot about that, actually just a little bit about this in my online workshop. So it's so important to to have kind of a wider sexual script. A lot of times people find what works and they stick to that script. But the reason that that's a problem is because eventually you might find that something doesn't work the way you expect. Let's say you're always a missionary guy, but you injure your shoulder. It might be hard to get into that position. If you don't have your feet wet on what it's like to explore different kinds of things, then you might find that you're stuck and don't really know what to do. Part of what keeps sex exciting in long-term relationships is a little bit of sexual novelty and variety. I think a lot of people here try new things and their mind jumps to extreme kink. And a lot of times that's not really what people want or need. It could be. And if so, that's something to talk about, but it's also really important to take baby steps. We know that you don't need to do anything big or grand to create a feeling of excitement and newness. Sometimes doing something that's just like 4% different from what you typically do is enough to create a feeling of excitement and even induce a feeling of flow, which is kind of that like out of body, fully absorbed experience that a lot of people want to have during sex. What I do is I have these like really lengthy handouts of all kinds of different things you might do sexually. And I have people check a box if it's something they currently do. You check another box if it's something you want to do more of. You check a box if it's something you don't currently do, but you want to try. You can put an X in a box if it's something that's like a hard no for you. But you want to remember that you and your partner are partners, and that includes sex as well. And if you're totally unwilling to work as a team when your partner wants to try something different, then that's going to create a lot of tension in the relationship. Sexual satisfaction and relationship satisfaction are really strongly linked. And so if one person is chronically sexually dissatisfied, it's going to spill over into the relationship. You might find that your partner is a little more irritable. It can cause like feelings of depression for people. It's pretty important. So I always encourage people to be a little bit flexible. A lot of times you can find areas that you want to assess whether it's something you're at least open to versus something that's a hard no. And a lot of times you can identify things that you're at least open to trying a couple of times before ultimately deciding maybe it's not for you.
Oh, I like that. It's so important to have a kind of wider sexual script. Roger that. Just writing that down one sec. So through all of the stuff I just listed off a minute back, like cover of magazines, expert opinion on CNN, NBC, killer podcast, helping thousands of people, that's got to be personally gratifying, right? Well, what is Dr. Jamea's career highlight?
One career highlight. Oh my gosh. Let me think about that. I got interviewed for Oprah magazine once. That was really exciting. Cool. It wasn't, of course, by Oprah herself, but, at least be named in Oprah magazine. That was a big one. That's like always first on my list of like Emily's expert opinion has been featured in. It's always Oprah magazine #1. I had the opportunity to meet Lisa Ling once, which was really exciting. She was the keynote speaker at an event that I was a conference speaker at. And so I had the opportunity to meet her, and she is such, I think, an incredible journalist, and she covers a lot, with sexuality. And so that was a really cool experience as well. I'd say those might be my two main highlights.
Talkcast podcast entertainment guest visits are powered by Thrive Management, an event staffing agency that provides staffing services across Calgary, Edmonton, Toronto, Ottawa, and all of BC. Find out more at thrivemanagement.ca.
She's an F-15, she's a bullet train. Nothing out here slowing her down. She been looking at me, said you like what you see. Must have been a real good sign. I said, hey now, what's that sound? Everybody up on the dance floor. I said, hey now, it's going down and it sure to be a real good time. I might be 10 shots down, but it don't mean much. I can come around for some two-hand touch. I'm on a night out where anything goes. You bring out the devil in me. I can tell by the look in your eyes that I got what you need. the devil live. Wears a crop top shirt and some torn up jeans. Smile shine bright like a diamond. She's looking like she's ready for some one-on-one, and I know we're going home tonight. I said, hey now, what's that sound? Everybody up on the dance floor. I said, hey now, it's going down. Sure to have a real good time. But she got a file that I can't explain. Dancing all night in the pouring rain. I'm on a night out where anything goes. You bring out the devil in me. I can tell by the look in your eyes that I got what you need. I'm on a night out and God only knows. You bring out the devil in me. So come back to me, or me, or me. Bring out the devil in.
They are Pistol Whip the Devil, and a new song for them called Devil in Me. And the chorus, you would think that song was written about going out and ripping it up with the buds. I'm on a night out where anything goes. You bring out the devil in me. You would think maybe shots, knee deep in trouble at that point. But the second line, hold on a second. That's not what we're talking about at all. I can tell by the look in your eyes that I got what you need. A little country rock love song from the boys. They just played a show with Sean Daniels a few days back. I think it was a festival show. A bunch of people killed it, from what I heard. Pistol Whip the Devil will wrap up episode 365 and taking you back over the years. Some highlights from our guests. These weeks are always fun to put together, kind of combing through the guest highlights that we've had. Everyone has a story, and that's what this podcast is all about, getting those stories out and sharing them with you. Once again, my name is Todd Hancock. Thank you so much for being there, being part of the podcast. Crazy how fast the weeks fly by. Please tell your friends about us. That's a big part of how we grow. We are part of the Realm.fm network. You can subscribe to us on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcast. Check out all of our videos through our YouTube channel. Of course, everything's at Toddcast Podcast. Huge thanks to all of our wonderful sponsors. Their support is what keeps us moving. You can find all sponsored websites at toddhancock.ca. You can sponsor the podcast for as little as $10 a day, by the way, too. Contact info at the homepage. Shoot me a note and we'll see what's up. And as always, if you help us find a sponsor, we will give you a commission. I am literally trying to find other podcasts doing that, not finding any because they don't. All right, so shoot them my way if you've got a business that makes sense. Until next time, don't be an asshole, because nobody wants to be around that. Have fun, play hard, most of all, believe in yourself.
You've been listening to the Toddcast Podcast, powered by Citywide Mortgage Services, dedicated to helping you find the best mortgage rates. Available 7 days a week at citywidemortgage.ca.
The Old West is an iconic period of American history and full of legendary figures whose names still resonate today, like Jesse James, Billy the Kid, and Butch and Sundance, Sitting Bull, Crazy Horse, and Geronimo, Wyatt Earp, Bat Masterson, and Bass Reeves, Buffalo Bill Cody, Wild Bill Hickok, the Texas Rangers, and many more. Hear all their stories on the Legends of the Old West podcast. We'll take you to Tombstone, Deadwood, and Dodge City, to the plains, mountains, and deserts for battles between the U.S. Army and Native American warriors, to dark corners for the disaster of the Donner Party, and shining summits for achievements like the Transcontinental Railroad. We'll go back to the earliest days of explorers and mountain men, and head up through notorious Pinkerton agents and gunmen like Tom Horn. Every episode features narrative writing and cinematic music, and there are hundreds of episodes available to binge. I'm Chris Wimmer. Find Legends of the Old West wherever you're listening now. American history is full of infamous tales that continue to captivate audiences decades or even hundreds of years after they happened. On the Infamous America podcast, you'll hear the true stories of the Salem witch trials and the escape attempts from Alcatraz, of bank robbers like John Dillinger and Pretty Boy Floyd, of killers like Lizzie Borden and Charles Starkweather, of mysteries like the Black Dahlia and D.B. Cooper, and of events that inspired movies like Goodfellas, Killers of the Flower Moon, Zodiac, 8 Men Out, and many more. I'm Chris Wimmer. Join me as we crisscross the country from the Miami drug wars and Dixie Mafia in the South, to mobsters in Chicago and New York, to arsonists, kidnappers, and killers in California, to unsolved mysteries in the heartland and in remote corners of Alaska. Every episode features narrative writing and cinematic music, and there are hundreds of episodes available to binge. Find Infamous America wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm Amy Nicholson, the film critic for the LA Times.
And I'm Paul Scheer, an actor, writer, and director. You might know me from The League, Veep, or my non-eligible for Academy Award role in Twisters.
We love movies, and we come at them from different perspectives.
Yeah, like Amy thinks that, Joe Pesci was miscast in Goodfellas, and I don't.
He's too old. Let's not forget that Paul thinks that Dune 2 is overrated.
It is.
Anyway, despite this, we come together to host Unspooled, a podcast where we talk about good movies, critical hits,
fan favorites, must-sees, and in case you missed them.
We're talking Parasite to Home Alone.
From Grease to The Dark Knight.
We've done deep dives on popcorn flicks. We've talked about why Independence Day deserves a second look.
And we've talked about horror movies, some that you've never even heard of, like Ganja and Hess.
So if you love movies like we do, come along on our cinematic adventure.
Listen to Unspooled wherever you get your podcasts.
And don't forget to hit the follow button.